In the year of 2010, I was enrolled as a first-year art student at the École des Beaux-Arts de Toulouse in France. I was placed in first year at the age of 23, despite the fact that I had already previously completed several years of study in art in the United States, my country of origin. As the schooling system in the United States is not a transferable equivalent to the European one, I ended up enrolling as a beginner, with students 5 years younger than I. Truth be told, it didn't bother me at all that much. It was an opportunity to try my hand at all the media that the school's multiple workshops had to offer, ones that my previous, smaller school could not provide. Although I engaged adamantly in the experimentation of all the materials taught at that school, my preferred medium remained, as it had already been, painting. After all, it was a medium I had been working with and loved since the age of 8. As I advanced in my years at school, I continued pursuing this materialistic medium, up until my DNAP, that is, my undergraduate degree in fine art. My presentation consisted of filling the biggest gallery space in our school with multiple, large-format paintings, some of them up to 3 meters in width. Upon my arrival back in Toulouse for my 4th year at that school and my first year as a graduate student, I went to pick up my paintbrushes and begin a new series of paintings. I immediately began working with conviction, persuaded that the summer break had allowed me the incubation time necessary to begin developing new and exciting ideas. Unfortunately, the resulting paintings were shit. Not only that, but once I had started a few of them and realized it wasn't going the way I'd thought, I became completely stumped and found myself unable to progress any further. As an immediate result, I found myself integrally questioning my art practice. Was I really an artist? Or was it just easy for me, with my previous experience in painting, and thus my facility for technique, to adapt those skills into an idea set that more or less corresponded to what I thought contemporary art should look like, without even having any original intent of my own? I was convinced of the latter. I was also convinced that I only practiced painting because it was a comfortable action for me, a non-threatening occupation of my time. It was like I was trying to graft my artistic research onto the fact that I knew how to paint, rather than letting the ideas behind my work and the physical result be one and the same. The value of my paintings was for me instantaneously nullified. It was in that moment that I decided to make a video. Now, you must understand that video art, as I internally referred to it, without being aware of the completely outdated, even pejorative quality to the term, was something that I hated. When visiting exhibitions, I was constantly and profoundly disappointed at what I experienced, convinced it was due to a lack of richness or plasticity to the medium. I hated sitting with it. I wanted always to take the works in all at once, like a fixed image or a painting. And as the defining quality of film or video is its temporality, that is, its existence and unfoldment over a period of time, I never wanted to grant my attention long enough to appreciate what was happening in those images. And yet, somehow, miraculously, I found myself needing to make a video. At this point, I should probably address the actual subject matter of my work, as it's fundamental to understanding the rest of this story. I was fascinated by nature, truly and incessantly obsessed with it, ever since I can remember. The paintings I presented for my 3-year undergraduate degree took the subject of white-tailed deer hunting in North American culture, as a kind of pretext for addressing the relationship between humans and nature. When a person hunts an animal, he is simultaneously destroying a natural entity and engaging in the natural functions of the wilderness. I saw this as a kind of complex, paradoxical metaphor for describing our contemporary relationship to what we have collectively called nature. But when exploring these concepts through painting, I found that too many questions about the medium came into play. Why make a painting from this image that already exists? Couldn't it simply function better as a photograph? As a collection of found photographs? Why acrylic? Why oil? And why on these cotton sheets rather than stretched canvas? How to decide between a kind of photographic resemblance and a more expressive or painterly quality to the image? For someone who is convinced of their artistic practice, these questions would be of no threat. But for me, I suddenly found myself deeming useless, even profane, the fact of picking up a brush and arbitrarily spreading a bunch of colours around onto a surface, positioning it vertically on a wall across from the visitor for easy viewing, and expecting my mind, and that of everyone else, to be set at ease. The only solution for my problem was to go towards that which provided no comfort at all, and didn't correlate with any sense of pleasure or nostalgia. In doing so, I would inevitably have to navigate based on my ideas and intentions rather than abilities and comfort zone. I made my first video. It was a series of simple shots with a digital camcorder. I travelled to the closest park that I knew to have a more or less natural setting, a large public park on the outskirts of Toulouse. I framed the shots to only show the natural parts of the landscape, to try and give the illusion that I was actually in the wilderness or something close to it. I set up the tripod, began recording, and walked out from behind the camera to the middle of the frame. I turned around and faced the camera. We watched each other for a minute or two. Then I walked back and stopped recording. I made about a dozen of these kinds of shots. This process, somehow, made more sense to me than anything I had done up until that point. And I can't really tell you exactly why. The second video I made was this one that you're watching. Well, not exactly. This video is not mine. But I did make a video almost exactly like this one. I had gone into a sort of forest with my camera and a shovel. I filmed myself digging a hole directly in the middle of the footpath. This was 4 years ago. I dug this hole, and at a certain point, when I deemed it deep enough, I put the shovel down and stepped into the hole. It was just deep enough to lower my feet and ankles into the earth, leaving my shins at ground level. I lifted my head to look straight at the camera for a minute or two, just as I had done in my previous videos. And I waited. The only thing that happens during this time is the movement of the trees and grass all around me. We, as spectators, suddenly become aware of all the movement occurring in the shot, just as soon as the principal action ceases. Somehow, this image, for me, meant everything. But this video that I made, it was, despite its importance to me, just student work. It had a roughness, a kind of lack of refinement in its realization. When I look at it now, it feels like looking at an old drawing that holds so much significance but is awkwardly executed. So I decided to remake the video. Why? I think it has to do with trying to give more value to my ideas from when I was a student and really allow them to blossom through my more developed understanding of my working process as of today. I think there is also something to be said for going back to ideas that you had a long time ago and reconsidering them, seeing how they come across now, and how you interpret them differently. So, my intention was to remake this video, and in doing so, revisit these ideas and hopefully deepen them and allow them to evolve. This was my intention, however, it didn't actually work out that way. The video that you are currently watching is not actually my video. I had nothing to do with its realization. The video that you are watching is a clip I found on YouTube. I was looking to see if anyone had thought of the same video as me, sort of like Googling your own name, but instead your own ideas. And I found it, my idea. Well, it's maybe unfair to say my idea, because someone else had obviously found it and turned it into a film first. But was it actually first? Because I had made my first version years beforehand. That being said, I had never shared it on the internet, and apart from it being displayed when presenting my work to various students and professors, hadn't been seen by anyone. This video that I found on the internet that uncannily resembled mine had been posted by someone that I had never met and had no connection to. Disheartened, I abandoned my project of remaking my original video, until I realized, what's the point of making a painting of an image rather than just using the original photograph? You know, what's the point of remaking this video rather than just using the one that's already online, uploaded and ready to go? Found footage. When I watch this video, I feel endless. I mean, I feel like where my ideas end and where other people's ideas begin is an arbitrary or even non-existent line. This person that I've never met, she could even live down the road from me or in another country. We could speak the same language or literally have nothing in common. I don't know her, but I feel like I know her better than anyone. I feel like she gets me. It's strange how a common idea can make you feel that way. It makes you wonder how many other people think the same things as you every single day, or feel the same things. It makes you feel anonymous. I don't mean to sound self-deprecating, but when I see this video, I'm convinced that nothing I do serves any purpose. Anything I do, it's always already there. I could just as well stumble upon it rather than invent it. What would it change for anyone other than myself? Nothing. It wouldn't change anything for anyone, except for my own ego as an artist. I could say at this point that there is one difference between the video I made of myself digging a hole 4 years ago and this video made by someone else. It's a pretty small detail, but one that I guess I find slightly metaphorical. When at the end of my film I'd finished filling in the hole, I packed down the dirt a bit by hitting it with the flat of my shovel. I then hoisted it onto my shoulder and walked off screen. Curiously, my filmmaker doppelganger moves in the same way by hoisting the shovel onto her shoulder. However, unlike in my video, she doesn't pack the dirt down, but rather leaves it as it is to settle over time. She observes the disturbed soil briefly before walking off screen as if to acknowledge the fact that a hole has just been dug and then refilled. That simple act somehow makes us feel like all the importance of the world rests in that filled-in hole. In all honesty, I'm not really sure what significance it has, but it somehow feels really important.